American soccer is weird here on the morning kick around here on Wednesday. The USL Championship starts this weekend, and there's a few new faces in the league, but with many projects and rumors rampant across the country, the league could look very different in a few years. So we're going to ask the question here, what is the state of expansion markets in USL?
Yeah, we're doing this for a couple of reasons. We did a video about a week ago, I guess. It hasn't even been a week, on the possibility of USL launching a first division, which they say they want to do. And we picked out 12 teams that we thought would be good candidates to be the first 12 teams, which is the requirement of the PLS to have 12 teams in year one for a USL first division. We also did a fella video where we read some comments and tried to figure out what we maybe got wrong. But it occurred to me after that video that we weren't accounting for the potential growth of the league, right? That we weren't accounting for potential clubs coming in. And more than anything, I just love the growth of American soccer, and I like expansion as a concept. Now, maybe this isn't the most sustainable model, and we'll learn as we go through these clubs and some of these potential projects that not everything kind of happens the way it's supposed to. Sometimes things are, planned and then they don't come to fruition. And this is the thing about American soccer is it's weird and it's messy, and here we go. All right. So, again, this is USL Championship. Maybe at a later date we'll do a USL League One video as well, but this is USL Championship. So first and foremost, Rob, as I got all of this information together, Lexington is moving up from USL League One to the USL Championship starting this season. They will be in this new campaign. Now, they haven't had a lot of success in USL League One, and from what I've read, their attendance numbers are pretty poor, so this is a choice, right? This is a choice for Lexington. So Lexington Sporting Club, Lexington, Kentucky, 80 miles away from Louisville is Lexington, so natural rivalry maybe is a thing we could talk about there. This is a look at the stadium that they've built there in Lexington. Again, 7,500 seats. Hopefully they can fill up the joint. Maybe moving up does that, right? And this is the bet that the ownership is making in Lexington, Rob.
That's interesting that their attendance last year was only 1,200 or so people. So it's interesting that they made this jump with that sort of, with this sort of, is there a fervor in Lexington, Kentucky? There's just without being on the ground there, a couple of the things look like red flags to me. I mean, I love the fact that they got a, beautiful new stadium, but it is interesting that Lexington was able to promote themselves because they made a deal to, if they got a stadium, could they move up?
Yes. Right.
And apparently Union Omaha is in that same sort of category, but it's wild that the stadium got them upgraded to the higher league, but yet the attendance doesn't reflect the appetite for
that. Again, this is sort of like betting on yourself, and we'll bring in Brooks's comment. Lexington have spent a lot of money on players. They are all in to do better this year in the championship. So let's hope that that's the case, right? There's still an expansion side, and that's usually a tough leap, but maybe the enthusiasm picks up. All right, moving on. Santa Barbara Sky, Santa Barbara, California, starting next year, 2026. I think from here on out, all these clubs are coming at later dates in later seasons. One of the owners is Peter Moore. More on him in a second. Harder Stadium, capacity 17,000. Peter Moore was the CEO of Liverpool from 2017 to 2020. He also serves as an advisor to Wrexham. They brought him in for that. Santa Barbara, just as a note, was set for USL League One. I have a typo in there, but USL League One before they got the franchise rights from defunct Memphis 901 of the championship. So they were all going to be a League One side, and then they went and bought this is how it works, right? They bought the franchise rights to Memphis, but they're launching this team in California. So there you go. This is a photo of the stadium, Harder Stadium in Santa Barbara. What did I say? 17,000 was the capacity. So it's a big joint. That's one of those stadiums that meets the PLS standards for one. I'm not sure about the metro population of Santa Barbara, California. It's also worth noting that their college team, I believe this is the home of the college team, Santa Barbara, in Santa Barbara is the home of their college team. University of California, Santa Barbara might be what it is. I believe they sell that place out for soccer games. The men's college team. That's one of the best atmospheres in college soccer in America. So that's a note. So again, 2026 Santa Barbara. Moving on, Sporting Jacksonville, or Sporting Jacks, I guess if they want to call it. That's what they want to call themselves. There it is, Jacks. Starting in 2026. What do you make of the badge, first of all? I didn't give you a chance on the Santa Barbara badge, Robert, but what do you make of the Sporting Jacksonville badge?
It's got kind of a San Diego Chargers sort of a color scheme. That's what it kind of reminds me of.
The old school one. Yeah.
Yeah, the powder blues, but
well, I guess they went back to that.
It's fine. I don't retch at it, which sometimes can happen with these new designs. I think it's nice. I'm curious to see what it looks like on a kit. Like, will their primary colors be that blue or one of the other colors in that color scheme? But interesting ownership group there. A couple kind of celebrity type names there too.
I mean, Baldwin saying it's like a Microsoft Paint kind of vibe. It's not. It's not. There's not a lot going on, and I'm not a big fan of the. We're doing circles too much. Doing roundels or whatever they're called now. I will say,
roundels?
So they're called roundels or something like that in graphic design because they're round. I think that's right. I think I'm right on that. I've been around American soccer enough to know that when the design people start saying roundel, it means that it's circular. All right, the ownership group is interesting here. I don't know who Ricky Kaplan is. We did a little research, but we didn't go too. I didn't get a bio on Ricky Kaplan or Tony Allegretti or Steve Livingston, but I know who Fred Taylor is.
Yep.
And I know who Tim Tebow is. So those are interesting names, former football players involved in this team. And I believe I have a shot of Hodges Stadium. You know, this is
looks like Southern High School football stadium, like one giant grandstand.
One giant grandstand, nothing on the other side, completely open. You know, I don't exactly know if there's going to be more to it. And again, this is one photo that I was able to find. They have not yet played a game in, so we don't know quite what it will look like for soccer. And, you know, as is traditional, it does have the track, which limits the size of the pitch, right? I don't know if the size of the pitch is going to be great for soccer. I'm not saying it won't be. I just don't know, because typically these fields are big enough for American football, but not definitely big enough for soccer. And yeah, as Baldwin said, it's literally a high school football stadium. So some of these teams, they're going to be launching into places like this with the idea that we'll build a stadium down the line. Some teams have firmer plans on that. Brooklyn FC. Now, interesting to note that Brooklyn FC, and I think I have it here in the next slide, has tried to start a couple different times and just not got off the ground. But they do have a USL Super League team already operating. They are set for Maimonides, I don't know how to say that, Park, which is what the minor league baseball stadium in Coney Island is called, on Coney Island. Here it is, that note, set for USL League One in 2025, switched to plan for USL Championship in 2025, then pushed launch to 2026. So they're not set to start until next year. Their ownership group, North Sixth Group, owns 2 Italian clubs as well as English club Dagenham and Redbridge. So they've got a bit of a portfolio, this ownership group. Here's Maimonides whatever park in Coney Island, on Coney Island, right there next to the amusement park. As you can see, it's definitely a baseball stadium. This is obviously a shot from when the New York Cosmos played there briefly. This is one of the most hideous things I could possibly see. I hate it so much. I understand you might not have options and you just want to get off the ground, and a stadium is kind of a stadium when beggars can't be choosers. But man, I hate soccer in a baseball stadium, Robert. It's so atrocious.
Hashtag American design aesthetics here. I mean, the background, maybe it's cool in person having the rides and all that in the background, but yeah, just the angles and just the geometry of trying to play a rectangular game in a diamond shaped building and field. It's so awkward and weird. And then just from that picture, I think that the goal line there comes right up to the wall on like the third base line, and I think that barrier almost has to curve because they can't be straight because it's so close to the field there. But that is a tough watch, and I'm sure it's better than nothing. But I don't know if anyone would choose that or think that is the ideal.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon. Brooklyn will be the team that CBS, ESPN, USL used to get U.S. Soccer to give exemptions, basically saying we want a team in New York, right? We want that profile in that marketplace. All right, moving on.
I'm sure there's fun to be had there, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, a nice night out at the minor league ballpark to watch the soccer team. Buffalo Pro Soccer, Buffalo, New York, obviously different part of New York. Start date 2026. Peter Marlette led group. Peter Marlette, They don't have a stadium determined yet. They're looking at a plan. I'll get to that in a second. Peter Marlette is a Buffalo native, former general manager of Union Omaha. Helped put together championship team in Omaha. He played soccer in Buffalo and then college in Connecticut, and I think he even maybe went abroad and played in Australia or something. But a soccer guy who's part of the group to bring professional soccer to Buffalo. This is the plot of land, as far as I can tell, that they are identifying for a potential stadium in Buffalo. Hard to kind of picture it, right? There's some streets there, some stuff's got to be done. They are pushing to get the plan together in Buffalo. I think they're still kind of working out what exact site will be. I think they want a downtown site, which would make sense, right? That's how you get some vibrancy and some excitement around the club. This is a rendering of a plan. And again, it's just a rendering. You never know if it's going to look like this. And this is even blurry and has a watermark on it, so it's kind of hard to tell. But
actually, I thought that was Buffalo snow, actually. I didn't realize that was a watermark. I thought that was just representing like what it's going to look like when you're there.
Yeah, this is so what I like about this, and we saw it with Lexington, although I didn't see a roof on Lexington's building. This is like a League One, even championship ground in England for some clubs, right? Like you're not looking, your capacity is not going to be 20,000. It's going to be 8, 10, 12, maybe 15 if you're really aiming for something big, which of course, when we talk about D1 coming, that would be an issue. Now, Buffalo could just happily be a USL Championship club and not need to move into D1. But if Pro Rel comes, then this is where you're going to have some of those questions, is what kind of stadium are you building, right? So when you have teams playing in football stadiums, they're going to be big enough, but they won't be appropriate, but they'll still meet the standard. Buffalo may build a very nice little soccer stadium, as Lexington did, 7,500 seats, but it's not going to meet the qualification for PLS. So there you go. All right, moving on. Milwaukee Pro Soccer. And anybody in the chat that's got information on these proposed clubs that I'm missing here, definitely throw it in. Like, definitely let us know what you know that we might not. Milwaukee Pro Soccer set to start 2026, delayed from 2025. You're going to see that as a theme. Lots of delays here. Kazmarczyk Enterprises and Milwaukee Pro Soccer, that's a group, and they're planning a stadium in the Iron District of Milwaukee with 8,000 seats. And again, keep that in mind. Milwaukee, pretty big city. They're planning an 8,000-seat stadium, and that wouldn't meet PLS if there was a chance to go to D1 at some point in the future. Right now, just aiming at the USL Championship. And you also notice no logo yet. Now, these renderings get you excited, right?
Yes,
this is what
I gasped.
Will it look like this? Shrug emoji. We don't know. Like, we don't know if it'll look like this. But if it does, that would be amazing. I would be so thrilled. Now, that looks bigger than 8,000 seats to me, but maybe I'm off. Rob, does that look like 8,000 seats to you?
That looks pretty big, but I that aside, maybe that nearsighted stadium is or stand is very, very small, perhaps. But I mean, that's exciting. I covered stands
everywhere,
all the way around.
A roof all the way out. Here's a little bit of a view of the concourse, and I guess some standing room seats there, or just on the concourse upper level. I mean, yeah, this is all very blocky, which you can tell is like this is an early rendering because it's all very blocky and not a lot of computing power going into rendering. I do like the one car.
Well, it talks about maybe that's to reflect that it won't have a bad impact on traffic there in Milwaukee.
Right, maybe that's what it is. Okay, shout out to Brooks. Milwaukee Stadium will be shared with Marquette, from what I've read. So Marquette's men's and women's soccer, as well as some other sports, will play there. I'm all for multi-use if it gets soccer stadiums across the line, right? Especially if public money is involved.
Did we have? Oh yeah, the names.
A little fun. Milwaukee's got this up on their webpage. They have their final 10 possibilities for their name. They have not yet named their club, and let's you tell me, Rob. Milwaukee Tall Boys. What do you think about that? Give a scale 1 to 10. Milwaukee Tall Boys. What you got?
7.
7. It's not bad, right? It's okay.
Fun. It's fun.
Yeah, Goodland. I don't know. Must be a very Milwaukee thing. I don't know that reference.
Milwaukee Goodland, only because I'm an out of towner. I'll give it a 3.
Okay, I'm going to pass. I'm going to beg off. Lake Effect. Now, as a Michigander, you might have an issue with this one. Tell me why.
Both producer Jenny and I, both immediately when we saw Lake Effect, you're on the wrong side of the lake, Milwaukee. You're not getting any Lake Effect here. That's west side of Michigan. That's northwest Indiana. That's Buffalo. That's not Milwaukee. Sorry, does not. That's a 1 from me, Bob.
Wrong side of the lake, Milwaukee. So Milwaukee Iron. Right, Milwaukee Iron. Okay, not terrible. Not it screams minor league hockey team, but it's not terrible. 1846 Milwaukee, very traditionally a soccer kind of vibe, but I don't know. I guess that must be Milwaukee's founding date. Rob, what do you think? I'm sorry. Give Milwaukee Iron.
I gotta say that's my favorite besides Tall Boy so far. Milwaukee Iron, I'll give it a 7. And then 1846 Milwaukee, I'm a 5 on that one.
All right. We haven't had a team do that. Houston tried, and then basically there was an uproar over the date they chose because lots of people in Houston are like, yeah, that's when you kicked out all the Mexican people and made it a very white. Anyway, we don't need to do that. Milwaukee Barons. Wasn't there a baseball team named the Barons or something?
Yeah, that's definitely a minor league baseball. So I'm going to go with a 4.
Yeah, okay. Milwaukee Brigade. Yeah, I'm not right in that area.
What does that mean? I don't even know what a brigade means. Is that a military reference?
Yeah, usually, but I don't know what it means in the Milwaukee context. Fresh
3.
Coast. Fresh Coast sounds like an underground hip hop label, to be honest with you. So I don't know.
Or your the brand new coffee shop in your medium sized town.
Yes, could be that. Cream City. No.
All right, so I'm gonna go. That's a 10. That's a good. If you're gonna go for that, cheers to you for your bravery. 10 for 10, Cream City.
Yeah. By the way, Barons, definitely there was a Birmingham Barons baseball team. Maybe still is, and that's people are pointing out in the chat rightfully that Michael Jordan played for the Birmingham Barons in when he was in his minor league baseball phase. Milwaukee Industrial.
So that's a lot like Chicago House, right?
Yeah, it's got that vibe to it. I'm not sure. I think I think Milwaukee Iron might be my leader at this point. Or maybe Tall Boys. I could go with Tall Boys. What do you think? What's the number 1?
Number 1 is the Tall Boys. Number 1 is the Tall Boys. But I don't know if that's like a practical or a good name, but it's the most fun on this list.
I think so. Okay, let's move on because there's a lot more to cover, and I noticed we're slow. Anyway, this is an article about them delaying. They decided to go to 2026. So that is Milwaukee. Let's move on here. Actually, I've got to go back all the way to the slides. Get those reset. Ozark United, Rogers, Arkansas. That's Northwest Arkansas. Don't know a lot about that area. Don't know how well it's going to support USL Championship. Notice that name, Warren Smith. Warren Smith is a guy, as I think it says it here, founded the Sacramento Republic and the San Diego Loyal. So he's got history. He also will come up later on when we get to some rumors. This is a rendering of the outside of their potential stadium. Not built. You saw the numbers there.
Sick.
Another indoor or another more of an interior shot. This would be a fine minor league soccer stadium. This would be fantastic. Even I got a beer garden and all that stuff.
These roofs to these? I love a stadium with a roof over the stand. Will any of those make it to the reality beyond the rendering stage? Because it's great to render a stadium roof, but will that happen?
Roofs jack up the price dramatically.
It's
an interesting Jumbotron situation there in the corner as well. That's wild. All right, USL Dallas, no logo yet. We didn't really pause on that Ozark logo, but again, lots to cover. Owners, nobody I knew off from their name, but obviously people who have an interest. This is Garland, Texas. You think, okay, why does Dallas need a USL team, or is that a good idea? This is obviously sort of metroplex in terms of geography. They're not going to go heart of Dallas, which honestly they probably could because, Frisco is not necessarily Dallas, is it? So in terms of where they're putting this, 235,000 people in Garland, which is a suburb of Dallas. And again, this is actually closer to the city of Dallas than Frisco is. Stadium to be determined. Don't have a plan on that yet.
I'm curious of viewers in Texas if they feel that there's an appetite and a soft spot in the soccer market in Dallas.
Yeah.
Obviously FC Dallas, not like the pride of Dallas from what I could tell. Not to offend any FC Dallas fans, but is there Dallas or Texas fans? Is there room for more soccer teams in that area?
It's a good question. Would love to get a response. Hit us up in the comments. This is USL Pro Iowa. That's a placeholder logo. Hopefully they're not using that logo. Wouldn't go with that if I was them. It's also worth noting that they don't have a date yet. This has been pushed back multiple times. I don't have the owners in there, but there is a Iowa Pro group. They're proposing a stadium with 6,300 seats. So just in terms of their Q&A, to give you a little background on, or their FAQ on their website, this is how you can tell that things have kind of gone quiet and they aren't going great, although I'll get to an update on funding. But they have a site picked out. There it says MLK Parkway, Southwest 16th Street, former Deco site. I don't know, Dyco. I don't know what that is, but that's obviously they're trying to rehabilitate a site. When will it be built? Once funding is secured, if we stay on track with timely decision-making, we anticipate breaking ground in 2023 with match play beginning in 2025. Yeah, that ship has sailed. That's not happening for USL in Des Moines. But moving on, this is from just, I think, a week and a half ago, that the Iowa Economic Development Authority Board voted to give $5 million to the proposed stadium plan. This will be a multi-use stadium, so again, not just one soccer team playing. It does indicate in here that there's still a bit of a shortfall. They're about $20 million short on what they need to get to 95 in order to build this. So it doesn't feel like there's some big, massive money behind the Iowa project. Des Moines feels like a place that should have a pretty decent level soccer team. They've had the Des Moines Menace for years, a high amateur level team. Robbie, you should know that.
Oh yeah, they win. They go far in the USL to playoffs for sure.
Yeah, they do that. Isn't that who Sasha Kleshin signed up with to play in the U.S. Open Cup? Was the Des Moines Menace? Yeah, they've got some juice there. So they're still working it out. Again, this article gives us an indication. USL Palm Beach, also to be determined on when they will start. Ignacio Figueres y Delfina Blaquier are their owners. That's a couple.
Of course.
He is an internationally renowned polo player. Rob. Now, polo, the kind on horses. Yeah. He plays polo on horses. They failed to launch a USL Super League team that they were planning for 2024-25 because that league is obviously playing on the European calendar, and they're in it right now. And there's no Palm Beach team in that league. So they're still trying to figure their stuff out. I don't know about stadium for them yet. And then that brings us to Oklahoma City, which obviously I put this on today for that particular reason. Oklahoma City Energy went on hiatus because they didn't have a stadium that met requirements. They now have Christian Canady and Court Jeske, who's their president, formerly worked at the USL head office, has a long history in American soccer. They're involved. Seen some big announcements from them. They're planning on starting in 2027. This is the rendering of their stadium. Now,
that's the rendering winner.
This is next level minor league soccer stadium. I'm sorry to use the words minor league, but let's just be honest. Right? This is next level non-MLS soccer stadium. I'm not even sure Lynn Family Stadium can compete with this, and that's the jewel of the USL crown right now. So
it is.
I hope they get it built. It would be amazing. Again, renderings don't have to meet reality. You kind of get people excited with renderings, and then you go, well, we got to cut costs here, and we got to cut costs there, and we can only put a roof on half the place or whatever. So I think that there's movement, and they have a plan, and it looks like they got real good ownership and people involved to know what they're doing. So Oklahoma City hopefully coming on. And then a couple of rumors. As far as I can tell, both of these are dead in the water at the moment, or sitting in the water, not moving. Roswell, Georgia, suburb of Atlanta, no news since their original announcement in March of 2024. And New Orleans, Louisiana, where Warren Smith was originally involved, but as we've already learned, he moved on to Northwest Arkansas and Ozark United. And New Orleans has gone very, very quiet. So that's a lot, right? That's
a
lot there. And so you almost get the sense, Rob, that the USL Division I might be about, we just have too many damn teams. We gotta put these teams somewhere else. We can't have a 60-team league. So if there's interest, and look, not all of these are going to get off the ground. Not all of them are going to hit their targets. And it is kind of frustrating when that stuff happens, but at least there's interest. Right? At least we know people are really excited to put money into pro soccer in America.
Yeah, I said it the other day on the show that this league could look completely different in a couple of years. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of interest, but when you look at the reality, like stadiums, only one of those exists, and that was the Brooklyn one, which was the carryover from the Cosmos. The rest of them are to be built in the process, except for Lexington, Kentucky, excuse me. But there's a whole lot of this is what we're working on, but we don't have 100% solidity on the
Yeah,
majority
yeah.
of these. So it could be this huge
Well, but
watershed moment, but it also could been a what could have been moment here now.
yeah. By the way, I failed to put in the USL Pro Iowa ownership group. My mistake there. Baldwin saying the Menace owners are behind that. That makes a lot of sense, right? I think I get it from you. You kind of have to go public with a plan, right? And obviously, sometimes you have a big time moneyed owner behind a plan, and you're going, oh, we've got this big owner, this local mogul, or we got a conglomerate, or whatever we got, and we're going public with our plan to get people excited. And in a lot of places, like just like in MLS, it's a real estate play, or on some level, it's a real estate play, or it's, hey, we want to do this, but we're going to need $10 million from the city, or we're going to need you to make some concessions to us, right? And I don't want to get stuck in the mud on those things because I get it, read field of schemes if you want to dive into how sports club owners, sports team owners milk cities and counties and states for money. It's definitely a thing, and it makes you feel uncomfortable as a soccer fan when you're reading about that stuff. But you go public to get the excitement going, to get a group of people who are like, yeah, we want this to happen, who then apply pressure on local authorities, local elected officials, or whatever it is. Or it's just, hey, we are doing this, join up with the investment group, bring your money to the table and get a piece of this. And so some of this stuff may only be half baked, but it's sort of half baked because it needs to be before it gets fully baked by the momentum that you create going public.
Another addition to the rumor mill is San Francisco could be added into that rumor mill because San Francisco Chamber of Commerce president and CEO Rodney Fong, I think very recently brought up that he would love to turn a moribund San Francisco Center Mall into a state-of-the-art stadium.
Yeah,
so that's an
yeah.
interesting one as well.
That one, yeah, I didn't include that in the rumors. It could have. I mean, obviously, some of this. So everything that I included here was directly related to the USL and USL Championship, and this all involved people or groups or cities or mayors saying we're putting a team in this town or we're building a stadium in this town or whatever it might be. There are absolutely other sort of speculative soccer projects that are basically even before they connect to a league. Right, like we want to build a soccer stadium and have a soccer team here. Oh yeah, what league do you want to play in? Well, we'll figure that out later. Right, some of that is happening, and again, this was just the USL Championship. We'll do something else on USL League One, where the entry level, the barrier for entry is even lower, and potentially we'll have a bunch of clubs, a bunch of new teams in that division as well. And this is the strength of what USL has created, is they've made an attractive organization where these clubs can launch. And don't stare too close at it. Don't look too closely at some of these things because they will kind of turn out to be not necessarily, real in the way we want them to be real. But you got to get the team started before you even have that chance. I do hope that in every single one of these cases, this is my prayer for American soccer, that the owners, that the people behind these teams, that their hearts are in the right place, that they're really committed to this, and that at the first sign of trouble, they don't go running screaming for the hills and dump the team or shut it down or end it, because at some point we will do a recent history of dead American soccer teams, and we'll have another long slideshow, Rob.
Yeah, what did Peter Wilt say? There was like 180 or so dead teams from the last 25 years of American soccer. So there's plenty to dig through the boneyard of American soccer club past.
We could do a 20-minute video just reading off the names. Just reading off the names of dead soccer clubs. We could do a 20-minute video on that. Like, wouldn't that be a thing?
And I mean, it's just a movement outside of USL. I mean, it's a time of extreme movement because MLS Next Pro is trying to get independent teams into their feeder league. There's stadiums, at least one stadium being built for that. And then MLS Next, the youth program, is adding teams. And then they added a whole new tier of MLS Next 2. And so there's just a myriad of different movements going on at all these different levels here.
Yeah, since it's related, let me also throw in that our producer Jenny before the show was telling us, I believe it was Jenny, right? It wasn't you, because sometimes I'm not paying attention. There was a note, or was a mention in the Detroit City FC town hall or whatever they call it, that they intend to aim for Division 1 if and when USL gets it off the ground. So and we debated whether Detroit City FC was in our top 12. But if they're making that statement and showing that ambition, that certainly is an indication that, they want to plan to get there when that league is underway.
Yeah, Jenny piping up in our private chat that it was the annual ownership meeting.
There you go.
Because there's a community ownership element there, and they have an annual meeting and saying they intend to go to Division I, but the steps there are not necessarily crystal clear just yet. Before we go for the day, some Milwaukee naming additions in the chat. You want to see some of those, Jason? Milwaukee Suds is one of them from Angus, which I thought is fun. But I always try to picture like you're watching TV, your hometown Milwaukee soccer club is playing. Do you want to hear them say, "Suds on the breakaway" and "Suds get the equalizer"? Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's a very fine line here between like a good name that sort of connects with the history of a community or an area, and a name that feels ridiculous and, again, sort of minimizes the seriousness of supporting the team. I do think that there's something to be said for over a long enough time span, everything gets normalized and we just kind of get used to it. I mean, people aren't really complaining about the name Utah Jazz anymore. Right? We're always like, oh, what? Jazz and Utah? What are you talking about?
The way it is, right?
It's just what they are. It's just it's just who they are now. And it's been that way for a long time. I imagine if you said Suds, there would be something else would come out of it. People would maybe find their own way to kind of make that their own thing. And it would get, no, I will say I like it better if it means something to the people of Milwaukee, and maybe Suds isn't the right way to go. Maybe it is Iron, or maybe it is something like that. Maybe it is Cream City. I prefer that than to, Milwaukee SC or Milwaukee FC or whatever. Enough with those. Enough already.
It's interesting that the team had so many like direct beer references. I understand Milwaukee's history, but like they're going to be marketing it to youth teams and all that sort of thing. It's like, hey, young children, come out and see the Tall Boys. Hey, Dad, what's a Tall Boy?
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm having trouble finding it, but another name suggestion for Milwaukee was, there you go. You took it right out of my brain. Milwaukee's Best Soccer, which another beer entendre. I think that's a good selling line. Yeah. I think would be fun. I don't know about the name of the team, but for the commercial, I could see it.
You know what I would be doing? I would be calling them Beast FC most of the time, because as a young American lad, I was I would partake of Milwaukee's Best, but we always called it Beast. I don't know why, but that's what we called it.
Yeah, the Beast returns. The Beast returns. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. Morning Kick Around. We've had a good time here. If you haven't subscribed yet, Morning Kick Around on YouTube. Join the MK Ultras. We are working our way towards 5,000 subscribers, and we are on pace to do that. And so if you haven't done it, be the very next subscriber to Morning Kick Around. You can follow along on social media at MKickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Get your votes in for the Morning Kick Around Rooster naming. You only have about 48 hours left to do that. And the Morning Kick Around Rooster will be named on Friday. Peckshay, Franz Peckenpower leading the way, but you can also get in there for Marco Rooster or David Peckham. All right. That about does it. Any final words, Mr. Davis?
Nope. Ready to get out of here. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it.
All right. Until Friday, everybody, enjoy your soccer.